Labour has planned to reinstate the 2030 ban on the sale of new petrol and diesel vehicles. And this could place huge costs on the average driver, according to the founder of Fair Fuel UK, Howard Cox. And the ban was meant to be introduced in 2030 by PM Rishi Sunak, but he pushed it back to 2035 in September last year. Well, joining us now to discuss this is the social commentator Jim Dale. Jim, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. All eyes have been on the tax costs. Meanwhile, dig a bit deeper into the Labour Party manifesto, and lo and behold, the 2030 ban on petrol and diesel vehicles is coming back. A lot of people saying, Jim Dale, this is a war on motorists.
Yeah, you kind of hear it every election. The same thing. I'm old enough to remember the last election, the one before that, the war on motorists by either the Telegraph or the Mail. It's a regular thing. It's not a war on motorists. Let's make it absolutely clear. It's a war on pollution, and it's a war on the climate crisis. That's the intention of it. So, and by the way, this is not on existing cars. This is on new cars. So it won't affect anybody with a car that's petrol or diesel or hybrid or any of those. So this is a massive exaggeration during election time. That's what it's meant to be.
No, because it means that every vehicle will need to be replaced. And if they're not replaced, they may be taxed. For example, also in this manifesto is Keir Starmer saying he thinks that low traffic neighbourhoods are a good idea. He'll devolve that power to councils. We already had Angela Rayner saying expect to see ULEZ in most towns across Britain. The threat is, Jim Dale, the threat is that existing vehicles will be taxed and they'll need to be replaced. And in fact, a report by the Centre for Economics and Business Research has said that this will cost £14,700 for every household by 2030 down the line, because you've got to replace your motor.
Yeah, not necessarily. Another red herring. I mean, the boss of Ford, Lisa Franklin, is in favour. CEO of Society of Motor Manufacturers is in favour. So the motoring
they would be, because they'll sell new cars.
Pardon?
But they would be in favour of legislation that means you've got to replace your car because they sell cars.
It's not a case of replacing. It's when they are due to be replaced. So existing cars stay in position past 2030. If you've got an old car, that's the way it goes. And the rolling out of ULEZ into other areas is already happening. That's a pollution measure. That's what I would fight for, because pollution is a inherent disease-causing symptoms. So therefore, this is moving in the right direction. This is going to happen whether you like it or not. And these are not my words; these are Nigel Farage's words. We're going to have a Labour government, according to Nigel Farage. So whether they like it or not, the Mail, the Telegraph, the people that you've just quoted, it's going to happen. It's how it happens, and the 14,000 that's going to cost is just a massive red flag. That is just bogus, to be frank with you. That's where it is.
But Jim Dale, the introduction of ULEZ has been proven to impact the working poor the hardest. They can't afford a new car. Rich people, they just buy a nice new EV. Won't affect those at the top. It affects the working poor. It affects those who don't live in metropolitan areas, who don't live in places like Oxford with its LTNs, people in rural areas who depend on their car to get about, who can't afford a new car. This impacts the working poor the hardest.
Yeah, that's the diatribe that was put out by the anti-ULEZ people during the election in London. Bear with me. In London, and we saw the results there, and other mayoral cities as well. So look, you're trying to sell the same thing that was sold in the mayoral elections, in the local elections. Now we've got a general election. Let's just see if it works, shall we? Let's just see what happens on the 3rd of July, what comes out of that, in terms of if it's such a big issue, and it's not, because of the reasons I told you. The big issue is, as I've said to you, about pollution and about the climate crisis, which are extremely real. The £14,000 that you're quoting is not real. And it's as simple as that. Much as the reform reason for climate change, volcanoes, is not real. So I'll challenge Nigel Farage now to a debate about his not net zero policy, because at the moment it's hardly been seen on media. And look across it and I'm thinking, when are we actually going to get a debate on one of the most important issues, which can include pollution and cars, etc. It needs to be there. I look forward to GB News making that happen on a roundtable with Nigel Farage necessarily, or Richard Tice, who appears to run away from debates with me at the moment. Either or either, I'm quite happy to do that. And we'll see whether or not we can talk about volcanoes causing climate change as we are at this moment in time, as they are.
Well, both of those individuals might be a bit busy at the moment, Jim. They might have other things on their plate, but I'm sure down the line they'd be happy to take you on. I'd be happy to take you on in something as simple as you claim about ULEZ saving lives. There's only been one death certificate that's had pollution on it. That wasn't even put down to vehicle pollution itself. There have been multiple sources that have said that ULEZ has had minimal impact on air pollution. Cars are getting cleaner anyway, and the air is getting cleaner as we go along. So we can all fish out the data we need. Jim Dale, we've got to leave it there, mate. We've got to leave it there. No doubt we'll have the same debate again another time. And I just think it just hammers the poorest.
Bring him on. We'll have a
it hammers the poorest. It doesn't seem to bother you, Jim Dale. Anyway, thank you very much, mate. Always a pleasure to have you on.